The house was eerily quiet that afternoon, the kind of stillness that makes even the hum of appliances or the distant chirping of birds feel amplified. I sat alone in the living room, absent-mindedly flipping through a magazine, not really reading, just passing the time. My husband, ever dedicated to his work, was away on another business trip. It wasn't unusual, yet somehow the silence felt heavier than before. I glanced at my phone, hoping for a message or a call. Nothing. The predictability of my life had become suffocating, wrapping around me like an invisible cage. I loved my husband. At least, that's what I told myself. But over the years, passion had faded into comfort, and comfort had slowly turned into complacency. The sharp slam of a car door snapped me out of my daze. I peered through the window and saw my nephew, Ethan, walking up the driveway. He was my husband's younger brother's son, though given our small age gap, he felt more like a distant cousin than a nephew. In his early 20s, Ethan carried himself with effortless confidence, his presence magnetic and full of life. Before he could knock, I opened the door. "Ethan, what brings you here?" I asked, masking my surprise with a polite smile. He grinned. "Uncle asked me to pick up some documents he left behind. Hope it's not a bad time." "Not at all. Come in," I replied, stepping aside as he entered. As he moved through the room, I couldn't help but notice the vibrant energy he carried. So different from the cold, calculated presence of my husband. He tossed his bag onto the couch and looked around. "Nice place, as always. You've got great taste." I chuckled, brushing off the compliment. "Flattery won't get you out of trouble. What documents are you looking for?" He shrugged. "Something about property papers?" I gestured toward the study. "They're probably in there. Go ahead and check." As he disappeared into the study, I found myself comparing him to my husband. Ethan was spontaneous, charming, unapologetically self-assured, things that had been missing in my life for far too long. I quickly shook off the thought. He was family, after all. A few minutes later, Ethan returned with the papers, his sleeves rolled up, revealing a tattoo on his forearm I hadn't noticed before. He caught me staring and smirked. "Like it?" "It's interesting," I admitted, feeling a bit self-conscious. We sat down and talked, more than we ever had before. His stories were lively, full of humor and adventure, a stark contrast to the monotony I had grown accustomed to. His laughter was contagious, his presence invigorating. For a brief moment, I forgot about everything. My husband, my responsibilities, the invisible rules I was supposed to follow. It was just Ethan and me, sharing an effortless connection I couldn't quite define. He leaned back against the couch, his eyes holding mine a second too long. There was something about the way he listened, genuinely interested in every word I said, that felt almost intoxicating. At one point, as he reached for a glass of water, our hands brushed. The touch was fleeting, but the sensation lingered. I pulled back instinctively, laughing it off, but I felt the warmth rise to my cheeks. "You okay?" Ethan asked, his voice casual, but his gaze searching. "Of course," I said quickly, standing to put some distance between us. "Just warm in here, that's all." I walked to the kitchen, pretending to busy myself with nothing in particular. Even across the room, I could sense his presence, a subtle tension building between us that neither of us acknowledged. When I turned back, he was leaning in the doorway, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "You seem different today," he remarked, his voice softer now. "Different how?" I asked, feigning indifference. He tilted his head slightly. "I don't know. Maybe more alive." His words caught me off guard. There was a sincerity in them that made them hard to dismiss as simple flattery. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, and it terrified me. "Ethan, you should probably go soon," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why?" he asked, stepping closer. "Am I making you uncomfortable?" "No, it's not that," I replied quickly. But the truth was, I wasn't sure what it was. He held my gaze, waiting for an answer I wasn't sure I had. The air between us felt charged, heavy with words left unsaid. He was too close now, and I could feel my resolve slipping. My mind screamed at me to take a step back, to remember who I was, what this was. But I didn't move. "This isn't right," I whispered, more to myself than to him. Ethan's voice was low, steady. "I know, but doesn't it feel right?" My heart pounded. For a moment, the world outside disappeared. It was just the two of us, caught in an impossible, inevitable moment. His hand brushed against mine, and I didn't pull away. The distance between us vanished, as if it had never been there. Then the front door opened. The sound shattered everything. My heart leapt into my throat as we both jumped apart, turning toward the doorway. My nephew, Jake, stood there, his expression a mix of confusion and suspicion. "Hey, Jake," Ethan greeted him smoothly, though his voice carried a forced casualness. Jake's eyes flicked between us, his brows knitting together. "Am I interrupting something?" "No, of course not," I said too quickly, forcing a laugh that sounded hollow even to my own ears. Ethan was just about to leave. "Yeah, just grabbing some papers for Uncle," Ethan added, flashing an easy grin. Jake didn't look convinced. "Funny, Uncle asked me to come pick up the same documents." My stomach twisted as realization hit. Ethan's excuse had just crumbled. Jake's presence was a brutal reminder of the line I had nearly crossed. Shame crashed over me like a wave. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," I said quickly, desperate to regain control of the situation. "Ethan already has the documents. You don't need to be here." Jake didn't move. His gaze lingered on me a moment too long. "Strange. He never mentioned you'd be here." Ethan shrugged, his demeanor unbothered. "Didn't think it mattered. We were just catching up. Nothing more." The words hung in the air, harmless on the surface, yet weighted with hidden meaning. Jake seemed to pick up on it. He hesitated, then finally spoke. "Well, I guess I'll leave you two to it." His tone was clipped, his expression unreadable as he turned and walked back out the door, leaving it slightly ajar behind him. The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan turned to me, his expression unreadable, and in that moment I realized whatever had just happened between us wasn't as fleeting as I had hoped.